Welcome back. We often talk about faith, medicine, science. Can it all get along? Is there a thread through all of this? Well, we are so honored for the first time to have with us Dr. William West. He's a medical doctor, Harvard and Johns Hopkins-trained oncologist, and the founder of the West Cancer Center and Research Institute. Dr. West has led groundbreaking work in immunotherapy and stem cell research. He's a lifelong Methodist. He has lectured for decades on the harmony of science and faith, exploring topics from the near-death experience to DNA and human consciousness. So there's a lot going on there. His latest book is called Sacred Science, and there's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen there. He argues that the universe, life, and human awareness reflect a super-intelligent creator. There it is. So check it out. Dr. West, thank you, sir. We woke you up, I guess. Sorry about that.
Well, actually, it's 10 o'clock. I've been awake.
Thank you.
My grandkids have given me a gift, so okay. I'm afraid I've got a little funny voice.
No worries. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. So much to talk about, so little time, so we'll have to get you back. But help us understand the scientific method and how clinical trials expand knowledge and why you believe faith is compatible to all this.
Well, good science is a hypothesis that presents itself to be proven false. And those things that stand the test of time, we consider them good science. We don't fully consider them complete. But, we're pretty far along on this science thing, and I think we understand quite a bit. Excuse my voice. I've had a gift from my grandchildren.
Oh, no worries.
We're pretty far along. We understand quite a bit about how this universe was made. I'll back up a little bit and say, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I read fastest growing group of faith consider themselves nuns, N-O-N-E-S. And I asked, well, where are those nuns going? And the answer was they believe science is their foundation for faith. So then I've been in science all my life, but I thought, well, that's an opportunity for me to go once again and see what science they're saying. And when I spent a little time looking at what we know about the creation of the universe, I realized, bottom line, science is another revelation of God. So the irony that a big group of young people are leaving Scripture to adapt science as their touch hold on the world, they've simply gone to another revelation of God.
So, in order to process that, it would seem to me that you would have to be honest with science and where science is leading you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, because are you concerned that science, and I say this respectfully as a question, that science is being manipulated?
I'm sure it is at multiple levels, but I think it's possible to focus through that and find the genuine people that are sincerely trying to understand God's creation. And my favorite example of that, we would not have a physical universe if it weren't for something called the Higgs field. That's Higgs. It fills the entire universe. And as those things that would be us, our atoms, for instance, flow through that Higgs field, they take on mass. Without mass, we wouldn't be physical. The universe wouldn't be physical. Mm-hmm. And then I asked, well, how was this Higgs field discovered? Well, Peter Higgs looked at an equation. And he said, if a field existed, if an area of space existed like this equation, it would explain the mystery of mass. So then you ask the question, well, where does that equation spend eternity? And we're back to the concept of God's higher dimension and his library, not just of mathematics, but probably also his library of DNA and protein. So I think we have a system today that shows us how God superintended the creation of this universe, and actually then went on to superintend the creation of life.
Didn't the discovery of DNA really change everything?
We live in a DNA world, mm-hmm. but nobody knows where it came from. Everybody just assumes, well, it's DNA, and we'll sequence the DNA, and we'll understand. But it just showed up. What, where, from, when? You know, Francis Crick, Watson and Crick won the Nobel Prize for DNA,
Hmm.
unraveling the double helix. Just before he died, he said it couldn't have arisen on planet Earth. It must have flown in from outer space. So it's a tremendous mystery that we all just assume is understood, and it's not.
Yeah.
We have no idea where DNA came from. To me, it's a miracle.
I want to come back to
Uh,
I want to come back to something you've done a lot of research and work on, and that is cancer. I suppose you and I could talk for hours on this subject, but there's some basic questions. Is cancer, and I guess this would be mixing medical science research on disease and faith. Is cancer a result of the fall?
well, we have to replicate our DNA a trillion times a day. Kind of focus on that. Our genome, we have a genome of 3 billion letters in every cell in our body, and we have to reproduce all of that DNA information a trillion times a day. So the remarkable thing to me is that it does such a good job. And then we have mechanisms that if it does break, if it becomes abnormal, many, many times it's repaired and the break is identified and fixed. So I'm comfortable with DNA. I'm not comfortable with us taking it for granted as something that just showed up. I mean, it's clearly in God's plan, and in my opinion, divinely superintended.
Okay, so when it comes to disease, and let's just kind of zero in on cancer a little bit. In your research, we've seen cancer now. I would call it almost at epidemic, if not pandemic levels. But the question is this poor management of health? Is this an environmental issue? Why is it so prevalent today?
Well, first of all, we're living longer. You know, the 50 years ago, the average life was probably 60. Now it's extended to 70. And we know many, many more people are living in their 80s and their 90s. And cancer, in a certain sense, is a disease of aging. If we're replicating our DNA a trillion times a day, it's more likely we make mistakes the older we are. And that's what happens. You know, cancers are more common. Not necessarily, of course, I live in the city of St. Jude's, and there are those cancers that arise in children, and they're very, very different. They're stem cell cancers, they're cancers of newness. But most of the cancers we see in the adult world that I was involved with and treating are cancers of aging and broken DNA. So as we grow older, we pay a price by more of us experiencing a problem with cancer.
How are you as a physician able to deal with all things concerning the body, but then there's this thing called the soul?
Yes, sir.
I don't care how much research you do, you can't really find the soul. It's the part of creation that's amazing.
It's it's wondrous, and that's why one of my favorite topics is the near-death experience. Uh, this feeling that people have of leaving their bodies, and of course, undergoing a life review. Not all of them do, but 1 in 5 do. And the similarity between those stories. You know, it's not like they got together and said, "Look, we're going to have a life review, and this is what you say." They have life reviews, and the fascinating thing about them is they see their life in review by how they impacted the other person, not how they were impacted, but what their words meant to someone else.
Hmm.
And I just think that's the way Jesus would have it happen. And so I'm a big believer in the near death experience, and that to me says, Wes, we do have a soul. We are. Uh, Gosh, I'm trying to think of the
Yeah.
great French man. We are dualistic. You know, we have body and we have soul.
Yeah. Boy, there's so much here, so little time. How do you think that science eventually, or maybe already does, underscore supernatural creation?
The science underscore, well, there's a mantra in science: don't give God a foot in the door.
Ooh.
And it sounds terrible, but there's a reason for it, because the minute we say, okay, God did this, then frankly, there's no reason for us to do any further investigation. And God wants us to investigate. Uh, he wants us to celebrate. He wants us to see what he's done. And that's why he placed us actually in this perfect spot in the spiral arm of a galaxy where we can send out telescopes and get some idea of how long light has been traveling through this universe. And he wants to be celebrated. And I do celebrate him for that. I think his creation is just beyond belief. I like to just look at the 8 blueprints that built the universe. They're each one super intelligent. They're each one pieces of art. And the mysterious thing to me is how anybody doesn't believe in God. It's the only explanation I can think of for how this universe happened, how this earth happened, how life happened, how DNA happened, and how we're here having this conversation.
I'm going to run out of time here, but let me ask you one quick question. Do you think the science community is becoming more friendly to creation?
I think so.
Intelligent creation.
Well, I care more about whether they believe in Jesus or have a faith. And 60% of scientists are avowed believers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you get to any particular theory of creation, age of the universe, et cetera, there's a wide diversity of opinion. You know, the standard model is we're 15 billion years old, the sun is 5 billion years old. And, you know, human beings have been around about 200,000 years. That's the scientific explanation. Is that the only one? And I certainly wouldn't criticize people who want to find alternative answers to those timelines.
Right. All right, we're going to run out of time here, so let me say, we'll get you back. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out Dr. West's book. I think you'll find it very fascinating, called Sacred Science. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen there. Is that available online, Dr. West?
Yes, sir. It's obviously at Amazon.
Okay. It's called Sacred Science by Dr. William H. West, so check it out. Thank you, Dr. West. I wish I had you for about 3 hours. We'll get you back, friend. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.